Hello everyone, it's Sean with Christ Life Art, and today I'm going to share with you all about my relief print titled Living Water. Well, all right, guys, I'm so excited to be sharing a new print with y'all. I feel like it's been forever. Whenever I started this year, I knew that my creating was probably going to be a little bit down this year just due to some life circumstances. Particularly my wife's going back to school right now, which is really exciting, but that just means I'm more involved with handling some things around the house. And so, yeah, I just knew that it was going to be down a little bit this year. But then also what I didn't expect was for us to have a house flood in February. And so February of this year, we had some water issues upstairs that ended up flooding half of our house. And so we ended up having to move out. We were in a hotel room for about 2.5 months with me, my wife, and our 2 kids. And yeah, we just hung out there at the hotel while they worked on the house. But while there, I was able to actually finish the carving of this lino print. And then once we got back in the house and then got resettled, there's still plenty of boxes probably to go through and things to kind of sort out. But once we got to a place where I felt like I could start printing again, got the print knocked out, and I'm ready to share with you guys. So that's exciting. Yeah, and take a look at this guy. I love this print so much. Every print that I create, it goes through its own unique journey, and I grow very attached to each one. But I love this print for the texture and the paper. This was a 100% cotton paper that's handmade that I found this little shop that makes this handmade paper, and it's so beautiful. I don't know if the camera will really pick it up super well in the video, but there's this subtle texture that came through in different areas, and I just absolutely adore it. The ink is the Cranfield inks, and so the blue, but also this gold that's a metallic. It has a very subtle sheen to it. It's just a beautiful, beautiful print, and I'm super thrilled with how it came out. So I hope that you guys enjoyed checking it out and hearing about it. But yeah, most of all, like while I love the aesthetics and the view of every print that I do, most of all, I love what each means. And this one has a very, very special meaning to me, so I hope that you'll stick around and listen to the devotion out of it, because there's a lot that could be talked about from this Bible story. This print gets its root at the story of the woman at the well, where Jesus has this conversation with the Samaritan woman, and there's so much rich depth to that conversation. There's so much that could get pulled out. But what I really want to focus on today with this print is this idea of brokenness and how Jesus can meet us in our brokenness and how he can heal our brokenness and then use our brokenness. And so, man, I hope that you'll stick around and listen, and I hope that it's an encouragement to you today. All right, guys, so the first thing I want this print to be a visual reminder of is that Jesus will seek us in our brokenness. So the story of the woman at the well takes place in John chapter 4. In verses 3 through 7, it says, Jesus left Judea and departed for Galilee, and he had to pass through Samaria. So he came to a town of Samaria called Sychar, near the field that Jacob had given to his son Joseph. Jacob's well was there. So Jesus, wearied as he was from his journey, was sitting beside the well. It was about the 6th hour, so this is about noon. A woman of Samaria came to draw water. Jesus said to her, "Give me a drink." So guys, I've heard sermons on this passage where preachers will try and take this story and use it to try and encourage and exhort believers to cross cultural divides to share the gospel. How, they want to put us in the place of Jesus and that person that we would not associate with in the place of the woman, and show how Jesus crossed cultural divides to reach this woman, and we need to do the same. Now, I think that's totally valid. I think we can learn that from this story. But I do think even above that, there's something greater on display here for us to really take in. The woman at the well is absolutely a story of crossing cultural divides. And I think the greatest one that is on display here is not necessarily a male Jew talking with a female Samaritan. However, it is the idea of the divine seeking and engaging with the sinful. That is the greatest cultural divide that has ever existed, is our sin separating us from a holy God. And here, the God of the universe coming to us. So, guys, in Eden, with Adam and Eve, they were sent away from God's presence whenever they rebelled against him. Yes, they were preserved. There was a sacrifice that atoned, but ultimately, inside, they were destroyed to the core. And they were holding on to this promise of one who would come that would crush the head of the serpent. We see that in Genesis chapter 3, verse 15. This one who would crush the head of the serpent, that would free us from the lies and deception and this wretched sinful venom that we're all born with. This idea of we're born sinful, separated from God. And here, Jesus, God, born in the likeness of men, he is coming, seeking this woman who is bound up in her own brokenness. Guys, I want to let that sink in for a moment because it's really profound when you think about it. This woman is just going about her daily life, doing what she feels she needs to do in order to survive. Maybe find some sort of peace and hope and comfort for herself. Maybe she's trying to cope with the pain of her life and the choices that she's made. She's here living in isolation, whether that's isolation that she's imposed on herself or maybe it's a cultural thing. But she goes to this well at a very abnormal hour for her task, possibly trying to avoid everyone. She doesn't want to talk to anybody. She doesn't want to talk to the other women in the village. She just wants to be by herself doing her task. But yet she ends up finding someone that is there to meet the deepest need that she has in her soul. Think about that. Jesus is pursuing her in that broken state. She wasn't looking for it, but Jesus was looking for her. And so today, you, me, whoever is hearing this, if we feel broken today, our God is not one who resides off in the distant shadows and obscurity, but yet he is one who will come close and he will sit with us. So don't push him away, but stay with him and listen for him, because he is not a God, again, who is distant, but one that will seek us in our brokenness. So the next thing that I want us to see here and have this print remind us of is that Jesus calls us to confess our brokenness. And so again, in John chapter 4, verse 13 through 18, it says, Jesus said to her, "Everyone who drinks of this water will be thirsty again. But whoever drinks of the water I will give him will never be thirsty again. The water I will give him will become in him a spring of water welling up to eternal life." The woman said to him, "Sir, give me this water so that I will not be thirsty or have to come here to draw water." Jesus said to her, "Go, call your husband and come back." The woman answered him, "I have no husband." Jesus said to her, "You are right in saying, 'I have no husband,' for you have had 5 husbands, and the one you have now is not your husband. What you have said is true." Guys, this is so important. When Jesus comes to us, he calls us to confess our brokenness. He is loving enough to press into our wounds, even open old sores, so that healing can actually take place. The things that we've been trying to cover up and hide and try and fix and fabricate solutions for on our own, and we're making it worse, all these things, he's like, look, let's pull all back the layers and just admit what's going on, and then let me work on it. He's like a surgeon who will cut through our emotions, our doubts, and our fears, and he does the necessary and sometimes painful work to cut away from our hearts what's destroying us. He wants us to see it, to acknowledge the brokenness in our lives. Guys, a life of denial only will keep us in pain. We often can think this idea of confession will lead to greater anguish and deeper depression, but that is not what Jesus is up to. He's not out to torment us or cause us unnecessary pain, but he's trying to get us to see our powerlessness so that we will fix our eyes on him. He knows that nothing this world offers is going to meet the need that we have inside of our soul. All these needs that we have for hope, peace, joy, endurance, strength, pleasure, all these things. He knows that nothing this world offers is going to meet that. And when we try to use those things to provide that for us, we end up breaking ourselves and breaking the relationships around us. It only leads to pain. But when we confess our powerlessness and we look to Him as the only one that can forgive sin and meet those needs, man, we find the life that we were created for, which is a life of worship towards our beautiful and glorious Creator. That's what we're made for. Guys, this woman's greatest need at the well was to admit her sin and see Jesus for who He really was, the Messiah, who could forgive her and make her new from the inside out. This is also our greatest need. It's mine and it's yours. And Jesus is still there to meet it. So if you realize it, guys, I hope that you will not try to hide it or Band-Aid, fix it, however you're doing it. I pray that all of us would pull back and say, God, I need you to come meet this need. I admit my brokenness and confess it to you. All right, guys, so the last thing I want us to see in this print and have it remind us to is that Jesus can flow out of our brokenness to others. All right, so back in John chapter 4, starting in verse 28, it says, "So the woman left her water jar and went away into town and said to people, 'Come, see a man who told me all that I ever did. Can this be the Christ?' And they went out of the town and were coming to him." And then jumping down in chapter 4 to verse 39, it says, "Many Samaritans from that town believed in him because of the woman's testimony, that she said, 'He told me all that I ever did.' So when the Samaritans came to him, they asked him to stay with them, and he stayed there 2 days. And many more believed because of his word. And they said to the woman," this is so good, "It is no longer because of what you said that we believe, for we have heard ourselves, and we know that this is indeed the Savior of the world." Guys, let that sink in. This woman, this part of her life that she wanted to remain hidden and just kept in the dark and kept as a secret and to avoid talking about, now she goes and openly starts sharing. Listen to my story. Listen to how this man met me in my brokenness and offers me new life. He offers me living water. Man, when our lives are changed by him, the living water that he promises us wells up inside and flows out through our brokenness. And when others see how he was able to meet our need and how he mended us from our shattered states and how he was enough for us in our darkest moments, how he has put us back together and satisfied the thirst of our souls, others will be drawn to experience it for themselves. Guys, when we hold our brokenness, it is as if we are trying to put a dam on this flow of living water. It says, nope, you can come out in other ways to reach other people, but you can't come out through this past pain in my life. And that might be the very thing that other people are needing. You never know the brokenness that God has mended you from. You never know what other person in your life is in that same broken state. And if they could see the living water of Christ flowing out of you through your brokenness, they might be saying, okay, I need that. I need that. Man, don't hold it in. The woman's testimony drew them in, but they encountered Christ for themselves. So again, we're not just going around sharing our stories and sharing our testimonies just to, brag about ourselves or how we put ourselves back together. No, we want people to come to him. Bring them to Christ. That is the purpose in our lives, is to draw others to him. We want his glory to shine out of our lives, even from the hard and difficult places, to draw others to him. People need your story. They do. It has value, and God has a purpose in it. So let the world see your weakness so that Christ can flow out of it to reach others. Well, all right, guys, so that's all about my print, Living Water. And so you can check it out here again. I hope now that you've heard the little devotion that the visual kind of makes more sense with what's trying to be portrayed here. And every print that I create, it really is meant to be a visual exhortation. I hope and I pray that anyone who would purchase one of these or have it displayed, when they look at it, that they would be reminded of those things. That, man, Jesus seeks us in our brokenness. He calls us to confess it so that he can heal us of our brokenness. And then he wants to flow out from our brokenness to reach others. That he can give those painful moments in our life a dramatic and beautiful new purpose. And so I hope that the print was an encouragement to you, and that it will point you to Jesus anytime that you look at it. So, guys, with my prints, I do make them available on Etsy. I did a short run of this. I only did a handful of prints. I'll have 6 available in the edition. And some of those, one, I'll be doing a giveaway. And so if you don't follow me on social media already, please do so. I'll announce the giveaway there, and that's where it all select winners and all that stuff. But there will be details on how to enter that coming soon. So go online, subscribe to Facebook, Instagram, and look for the giveaway. And then also, the ones on my Etsy shop will be available for purchase. The print paper itself is 8x10, and so it has this beautiful deckled edge to it that would look beautiful in a float frame. But also, if you wanted to get some matted, I will mat up to an 11x14. So you can get it that way as well. So, guys, thank y'all for hanging out with me. Again, it feels really good to be back and sharing what God is teaching me and how he's encouraging me through the scripture, through my art. And I truly do hope that these encourage you guys. If anything really stood out to you in this devotion or this print, I would love to hear from you. You can shoot me a message online, social media, drop me a comment, however you can. But let me know. Let me know if this print was an encouragement to you and maybe what God spoke to you specifically. So, guys, thank y'all for hanging out with me today. And I do pray and hope that wherever you go from here, you know that there is one God and he's given us one goal, and that is to glorify him. And so I do hope and pray that you go with living water flowing out of you, glorifying him in your lives.